Okay, boys and girls, well, here we are, part 9 of lesson 3. And basically, if you read through what it's saying, it's giving you some information about rotation, probably stuff you already know, actually. It's just telling you that on the work plane, the X and Y axis make up the work plane. So the work plane is wide and it's deep. So basically, it's long and wide, length and width. That makes the work plane. Those are the X and Y axes. And then the z-axis is the one that goes up off of the work plane. So that's all it's saying right there. And then, so basically it's telling you that from the home position, like I was telling you before, the y-axis goes backwards and forwards, just like it does on a map. Just think of this as like a Cartesian plane or a graph in math. Okay, y goes up and down, which basically for us means, in this picture, back, back toward the back. It looks like the top. It's not really the top, it's the back. And then forward. So back and forth is the y-axis, okay? Left and right, this direction is the x-axis, just like it is in math, okay? And then the z-axis, which you don't really use in math right now, is this one, up and then down. Oh, except that what I meant is this, up, sorry, I was using the wrong key, and down. That's the z-axis, right? Okay. All right, so just a reminder for you, and then let's move on to, it just wants you to practice. The instructions say rotate around x-axis, so this is rotation around the z-axis down here, right? Let's zoom in so we can remember this. Okay, let's zoom in and let's move it back. Okay, the one I'm hovering over right now is the rotation around the z-axis. So you can imagine a line going straight through the object, and we're going to rotate it around that. That's the z-axis rotation. This one at the top, if you think about how we're rotating it that way, this way, and so that is a rotation around the y-axis. And then the rotation around the x-axis is a little bit not showing up right now. There it is right there. It's this one, the rotation around the x-axis. That's the rotation x, okay? This is rotation y, oops, this one, rotation y, and then the one at the bottom down here is rotation z. Okay, so play around with it, see if you can get it straight in your mind, and let's move on to the next step, okay? Now, if I wanted to undo any of that, I could undo what I just did, right? Undo, there you go, and then redo, boom. That's all there is to it. So practice that, make sure you're comfortable with that, and then pause the video if you need to, and I'll see you in part 10. Here we go. Okay, now scaling. This is important, very important part of Tinkercad. You got to understand how to scale an object, which basically means to make it bigger or make it smaller. There are lots of ways to do it. Let's look at all the ways that we can do it, okay? So like I just said, scaling is increasing or decreasing the size of the object, okay? So it says when you select an object, you will see 5 white and 4 black squares. Let us make sure that we can see all that. I'm going to move this back and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Okay, not that far. Let's make sure we can see everything they're talking about. We can see, let me rotate this so we can see all the squares. Okay, so what they're saying is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white squares, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 black squares. And of course, at the top, we have, I wish that shape menu would go away. That's kind of bugging me. The triangular arrow at the top. So 4 black squares, 5 white squares, and this. These are all scaling handles. So you can click them and grab them and move them. It's going to change the size of your object, okay? So let's get used to all this now, okay? So first of all, the instructions say, move over the black handles, and you'll see one dimension along the X or Y axis. So if I hover over this black handle, it's going to tell me how wide this square is from one side to the other side, right? It's going to tell me how wide it is. And you can see it says it's 20. Can you see that number appear on my screen when I do that? And if I hover over the other square on the other dimension, it says 20.35. Now, there's lots of ways to change the size of the object. One of the easy ways is just to grab the handle and start dragging it. The other way is to actually click in this square right here and type the number you want. So perfect. Another way is to expand the shape menu, and for the length or the width, just type in a different number right there. So there's tons of ways to change the shape of the object, and there's even more than I just said. So let's keep paying attention. Here we go. It says move mouse over the white handle on the top, and you'll see the dimensions for the z-axis. So if I mouse over right here, the white square at the top, it's going to tell me how tall this object is, how far it sits off of the work plane, not the bottom surface. Remember, it might not be sitting on the work plane. You can see this one is floating, right? Let me see if I can see. Oh, I can almost get that. This one is floating off the work plane. So there's space between the work plane and the bottom of the object. But when I hover over this square right here, it's not telling me that measurement. It's telling me how far it is from the bottom of the object to the top of the object. Okay? Okay. So these corner handles, the white ones, tell you the X and Y dimensions at the same time. So for example, if I hover over this white square at the bottom, it's going to tell me that it's 20 wide and 20 long. 20 along the x-axis and 20 along the z-axis. Just like we can see in the shape menu, you can see it's 20 long and 20 wide. It's also 20 high. Okay, that's why when I hover over the white square at the top, hang on, when I hover over the white square at the top, it says 20.35. Let's just change that to 20. Now it's 20 by 20 by 20. It's a perfect cube, and we'll be able to see that in the shape menu, 20 by 20 by 20, right? Okay. If you got the hang of that, it was a lot already. So get used to what the handles do. Get used. You don't have to use them yet. We're going to do that in the next lesson. But for right now, just hover over them and get used to the information that it's telling you, and then practice trying to click in these squares and type in your measurements and change the size that way. Don't worry about dragging the handles for right now. We're going to learn all about that in the next one. Okay? All right. See you there.